Greetings. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's Building Power. I am your host, Zakiya Sankara Jabbar. Really excited today about this show. We're going to be talking about a Black Child Book Fair. So my guest today is Darryl Harvey, and he is the founder and the creator and the director of the Black Child Book Fair and author of the Sunflower series for children. Mr. Harvey was inspired to write his first book for children, I Can Do Anything, after mentoring a young boy. The book was well received, and Mr. Harvey continued to write books to help uplift young readers. His books focus on social emotional learning and include subjects such as self-esteem, integrity, and dealing with bullies. Mr. Harvey is also the founder of the Chicago Black Authors Network, or CBAN. Mr. Harvey's mission is to take the Black Child Book Fair globally and help influence and empower youth everywhere. Wow, that's amazing. You and I met through a mutual friend, Sister Denise, here in the DMV, and I'm just excited to hop right into this conversation and learn a little bit more about you. So, Daryl, welcome to Building Power. Feel free to share anything else that you'd like the audience to know about you and your work.
Wow. Thank you. And I really appreciate this opportunity to be on your show. Yeah, you kind of ran down my resume pretty good there. It's kind of when I sit back and think about everything that I've been doing, it's a lot. It's a lot. But yeah, I became actually going, if we want to go back to the beginnings, I kind of sort of fell in love with poetry first. Say like my senior year of high school, I discovered poetry. And it's kind of a funny story. I was trying to impress a young lady sitting next to me in class, and probably wrote the worst poem ever. And I didn't get the girl, but I got the poetry. So there you go. As a matter of fact, so after I did that and discovered that, hey, I kind of like poetry. So when I entered college, I started, trying to really develop poetry. And so I took a lot of English courses, and as Donny Hathaway might say, I wrote a lot of bad rhymes. And and so many years later, I kept notebooks and stuff like that, and even wrote for there was a African-American quarterly newspaper at my school. I went to Northern Illinois University, and I submitted some stuff to that, and it was printed. So I was like, wow, I must be doing something right. So anyway, years and years later, I finally had enough material, and I was like, well, you got this notebook full of poetry. What are you going to do with it? And so I took the step to self-publish my first book, and it's actually behind me on that side. It's a book of poetry called Loving a Black Woman. And
I definitely went, and that piqued my interest. I'd love to know a little bit more about that one.
So, at the time that I did that, which was the early 2000s, there was a lot of conversation about Black relationships, and a lot of material was being written. However, it was either being written from the female perspective or from somebody that wasn't even Black. So I decided to write a book of poetry and give my 2 cents. And the book covers the lust, love, and heartbreak that Black men feel but don't always share. So it's a lot of very intimate thoughts about what Black men feel for Black women. And again, it's like, things that aren't always shared. So it's
I'm surprised that wasn't a bestseller. Is that on your website?
It is on my website, and I did get a mention in Sister to Sister magazine
Okay.
back in
I
the day.
remember that. Yeah, I remember that magazine.
Yeah, and you know what? What's also what let me know that I was doing something right with that book is I got it. I went out to different events with it. I went to there's a group called the National Council of Negro Women, and they had a conference, and so I went to that to be a vendor. And this lady comes up to my table. She picks up the book and she starts reading some of it, and then she busts out crying. And I'm like, what's going on? You know, she totally freaked me out. She bust out crying. I asked her if she was all right, and she kind of ran away. And I'm like, what just happened here? And so she comes back because this was a 2-day thing. She comes back the next day and she said something that she read in my book sparked a memory, a deep memory for her. She couldn't control the emotion. And I was just like, I did that.
Well, I mean, if it's a book about love and relationships, you shouldn't be surprised. Like that's a trigger. You know, that's the popular term now in woke America, trigger. You know what I mean? So, and we're also sharing your website in the comments for our listeners. That's great. I'm sure people are probably, definitely interested in that one. If they're listening, they can definitely go to the website and take a look at what you have to offer. Can you share a little bit more about the Black Children Book Tour? That's something that I think you're launching pretty soon. Can you share a little bit more about what your thought process is and that, and sort of what your goal really is in traveling with that series?
Sure. So the Black Child Book Fair is what I named it, and that originated, kind of goes back to my first children's book, I Can Do Anything, which, as you stated earlier, I was inspired to write that book. I was still writing, and I still do, but I was continuously writing poetry, and I was working in social services, and I was asked to mentor a young boy. Everybody in his life was female. He lived at home with a single mom and a sister. His teacher was female. His babysitter was female. So I was asked to be a male influence to him. And so I spent a little over a year with him. And at the time that our time was coming to an end, I wanted to give him something to remember me by. So I wrote, since I was writing poetry, a rhyming story that was age appropriate for him. And that was I Can Do Anything. And it's basically a self-esteem builder for kids, say 3 to 5, that are just starting to read. And that was the first kids book that I wrote. But out of all the books, because now I've written like 11 books, and that book is still number one. Everybody wants that book. And you know, the power it shows, a little Black boy standing there tall and proud. You can't beat that. But so I wrote that book, and I didn't think that, I would get the response that I did, but people love that book. So I was still working with kids, and I was still inspired by other children. So I wrote more books. I wrote books introducing science. And it was very sad because at the time that I wrote a book called Alicia's Big Test, I was mentoring 2 boys in 5th and 7th grade. And I took them to the library and asked them 2nd grade questions about science, and they couldn't answer them. So I took it upon myself to write this book that introduced them with Black characters. And again, I wrote a book that amigo means friend, that introduces Spanish. And also I wrote a book dealing with bullying. Bullying has been
This
around.
is amazing. Like you're literally giving young people the tools also through literacy. That's such a great idea. This is amazing. So I know you told us about the bestseller, I Can Do Anything. I can see why that's like a bestseller, right?
Right.
Have you also, received like good feedback on the other ones? Have you worked directly with school systems, or do you work directly with parents themselves? How do you get access to the young people to get these materials into their hands?
I work with everybody. I work with everybody, but a lot of the times for us independent authors, we really got to grind to get our names out there. We really got to get out there and hustle. So I've been to, several different book fairs and several different large events like the Black Women's Expo and things like that. But then a couple of years ago, after doing all these different events, it occurred to me that, okay, I noticed that children's books sell well. Parents are always looking for children's books, and in particular, books with young Black faces on them. The actual percentage of books that have Black faces on them is very low. I
I
don't.
saw that percentage a couple of years ago. It is really low.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you're more likely to see first white children, and then after white children, you're more likely to see animals before you're likely to
I
see
saw
Black.
that. Wow. Yeah.
So I knew that there was a market that was underserved. And I tested it out and had the first Black Child Book Fair in Chicago in 2019. And the results were bananas. People came out to support, and everybody was happy. It was really good. But also for those independent Black authors like myself, it gives us a place to be, to specialize in our market. And it was really, really well received. So that was 2019. And I'm going, wow, I know that Chicago isn't the only market that
Oh,
has.
definitely not. Yeah.
So 2020, right before the pandemic hit, um, in February, because the pandemic, really shut things down in March. So February, Black History Month, I did 3 cities: Chicago, Indianapolis, and St. Louis. And man, I think specifically in Indianapolis, you would have thought that we were giving away money the way that people were coming in. It was just
That's beautiful.
wow.
You
So
know what, this is raising for me, and I have to say this. This idea that Black people, Black parents don't care about like literacy, or like don't care about their children learning. It's like that myth is consistently like burst completely wide open. It's like you actually have created materials that the community actually wants,
yeah,
right? Like when young people or teachers say, well, this young person doesn't want to learn. It reminds me of Dr. Joanza Kunjufu. You may be familiar with him. He's also in the Chicago area and has written a lot. His books actually politicized me in a lot of my activism and organizing. And he actually pointed out, like, the way that you get young people to read is to give them what they're interested in. They need to be able to see themselves in the curriculum, in the materials. And like what you are talking about right now is indicative of that being true. And I just had to raise that.
well, thank you. Yeah, just the need, number one, was so great. And I really don't believe in waiting for other people to create something. I say to friends of mine all the time, if it's needed, create it. So here we are, 2021, and this is my 3rd year in doing this, and I've become more ambitious with it because I see that it's needed and wanted. So for the spring, even though pandemic was going on, I had my fingers crossed that it couldn't continue forever. So I scheduled a 6-city spring and summer tour. And we just finished our 4th city. We started, of course, again in Chicago, went to Louisville, Kentucky, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we just left Juneteenth in Philadelphia, which was a really fun time, really, really good time. And so we have 2 cities left on our for our summer tour. July 10th, we're in Silver Spring, Maryland.
All right, I'll see you there.
All right. And July 31st, we're in Charlotte. So this is a first again for everybody involved. Our first time going to these cities, and we're hoping to make them annual events.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Tell us, I guess, a little bit about, how are you working with local bookstores? Like, how are you setting up the tour? And is there other venues or like other groups that you are trying to seek out to partner with in these cities?
Yeah, before I get us into any cities, I try to call and network and collaborate with other entities. Um, Unfortunately, at this time, a lot of entities are not collaborating because they're still on the COVID protocols for their.
Yeah, that's true.
So we kind of just muscle our way on through and still try to put on our shows. We have been fortunate in some instances where we have partnered with other people. Like in Philadelphia, I partnered with the only Black owned comic book store.
I didn't even know about that. Tell me about that.
Yeah, you don't hear about things like that, but there is a comic book store in Philadelphia, and it's owned by a Black woman. Her name is Ariel Johnson, and the name of her shop is Amalgam Comics and Coffee House. So she sells comic books and coffee and donuts and all that kind of stuff. And we had a
It's
great.
a nice concept. That's a great business concept.
In Louisville, we partnered with the only Black African American museum called Roots 101. And so in our future endeavors, because we're finishing up the spring and summer tour, but I've already started trying to set up a fall tour in the South. And I do know for sure that we are locked in for Atlanta in September.
Atlanta will probably be a great stop. I don't know if you have connections in Birmingham, Alabama, but I have some roots in Alabama, and I think Birmingham and Montgomery would be also a great stop for you to add to the tour if you have any connections there.
I don't. And yes, please let's make that happen because I definitely want to get to those.
Well, there's the Birmingham Civil Rights Museum as well that you could potentially, just make a phone call or email and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. There's also HBCUs, right? I mean, Alabama State right there in Montgomery, Miles Colleges in Birmingham. So, those are just few off the top of my head, just from, growing up in Alabama that I think that could be potential partners. But at the same time, I love the fact that you have pointed out some grassroots folks that we didn't even know about. Like, I didn't know that there was a Black owned comic bookstore in Philadelphia. So like, you clearly know how to find these diamonds in the rough.
I tell you, I make a lot of phone calls and send a lot of emails because you want to go to these areas and you know that you're needed. You just
right.
Collaborations are better than trying to do it on your own.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, and it's mutually beneficial, right? When you collaborate with another entity. I love the fact that you are able to collaborate with other small Black business owners to be able to actually provide value. This is extremely valuable to the community. Literacy for children, and they're able to see a positive message. They're able to see themselves in the curriculum, in the books, all of that, is very, very powerful. So I really, really appreciate the fact that you are doing this around the country. But I believe I read that you are wanting to do this globally. So where are you looking at overseas that you want to do this?
Well, I don't want to say too much, but I do.
Okay, all right.
I do have my eye on Toronto.
Okay.
And I do have my eye on London.
Wow. Two cities that has a significant African population. Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be working very hard to first put together my southern tour.
All right.
After my Southern tour, I'm going to be.
Anything on the West Coast?
I don't know. I don't know. I have a few people that have said they can help me get into Vegas and they can help me get into California.
There's Marcus Bookstore, one of the few last Black-owned bookstores in the Bay Area is in Oakland.
And I'm very interested in that area. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Listen, now I'm trying to help.
I
trying
know.
to get these books everywhere to our babies.
So, yeah, and one other good thing that happens is the in putting together the book fair, we bring these books to the children. So you have serious independent authors who have created a work that they believe is of value to African American children. And it's not just the African American children or parents that attend our fairs. We very much see the blended family.
Sure.
We very much see the blended family coming to our events, and sometimes not just a blended family, but Caucasians and some Hispanic as well. As a matter of fact, I was have been very surprised at how many Caucasians do attend, and sometimes are the first in line.
That's awesome. Someone wanted to know if you could post or share the date again when you'll be in Charlotte. I believe they are there locally there.
Charlotte. We are in Charlotte on July 31st.
Got it. Hopefully they're still listening. They got it.
Yeah, July 31st from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Park Expo.
The Park Expo, July 31st, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Yes.
Got it. So hopefully they got that.
And I hope they tell people.
Exactly. I was going to say, share this video. Share this all around the community in the cities that he's mentioned. Atlanta. I don't know if you got the date yet, but I know you mentioned Atlanta. It's September. So yeah, we want to make sure that this gets out to everybody. And we certainly already have the link to your website. So, hopefully you'll be sold out of books pretty soon.
I certainly hope so. And I appreciate you putting that out for the people.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that you'd like for our listeners to know before we wrap up our conversation here today?
So, as a matter of fact, my books, some of my books were, the pictures of the book covers were put up earlier. I just finished writing my latest book, and I'm meeting with the illustrator to start work on that, and hopefully it will be out for the fall tour. And it's a book on conflict resolution.
Ooh, that's needed.
Yeah, it's a book on conflict resolution, and it's giving children techniques to stay away from a building conflict, a fight, if you will. And it's called We Don't Have to Fight.
What's the age range for the book that you're targeting?
I would say that is probably in understanding the techniques and everything, is probably 3rd, 4th grade.
Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah, I recall a lot of fights in 3rd and 4th grade. So.
Right. Yeah. My son is heading to high school, so I remember those little situations at school, conflict, and knowing how to resolve it. I think that's powerful. I don't know if I've already asked you this, but have you been able to, I'm sure not during COVID, but before COVID, did you also partner with school districts as well, like to get maybe shipments of the books, especially on bullying? I know you've written one on bullying and things like that. Have you been able to partner with specific school districts to say, hey, this is a good resource you guys should invest in for your young people?
Here and there.
Okay.
I have been able to reach a lot of individual schools and some social work agencies.
Nice.
That work with preschool in particular.
Okay.
but we always want more.
Of
And,
course.
and I'm working to achieve that.
Right. Yeah, we have lots of listeners here who are either on boards of like charter schools or principals, things like that. So they have your website. I'm sure they could reach out to you if they are interested. Particularly since you're launching the new book on conflict resolution coming up in the fall. You actually may get some folks reaching out to you that are interested in like partnering with you maybe for a stop on the tour.
Hey, I'm definitely available for that. And all they got to do is go to harveyWritersGroup.com and look for books. You will see all the books that are currently available. And my contact information you should be able to contact me through the website.
Okay,
Uh,
that's great.
Also, I'm on Facebook as Darryl Harvey Author.
Okay, and
And
we also have your Twitter as well. You're on Twitter. Are you on Instagram?
I am on Instagram, Black Child Book Fair.
Black Child Book Fair on Instagram.
Yeah,
Okay.
you got to be on everything social media.
Absolutely. That's actually probably my final question for you. How do you leverage social media to get access to more people when you are in these particular cities? Do you leverage social media for that?
Oh yeah. I look for say like Facebook. I look for groups that may be related or be of interest in that particular city. So like
Okay.
uh, I reach out to the writers groups, the parent groups,
Nice.
all of that, and just whatever club groups that are in that city and that are largely African American, and try to throw our electronic flyer out there or the information and let them know that we're coming.
Nice, nice. Tell me where you're going to be in Silver Spring. I want to make sure I try to get that on my calendar. That's also my daughter's birthday weekend, so I know we'll be celebrating her. I know because I recall that July 10th is a Saturday because her birthday is actually on Monday. But I'd like to know where you'll be in Silver Spring so that hopefully my family and I can come out and support.
Saturday, July 10th at the Episcopal Church of the Ascension.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I
that
can connect with you via email too, like to get the like exact, so we can try like the time and all of that. So we can definitely try to connect with you there.
10 a.m., 3 p.m.
Awesome. This has been great. Listen, I'm excited. I'm always looking for, access to more books for African American children because I have two of them. My daughter, she's the youngest, so she'll be 7 in a couple weeks here. And I love the fact that you target the younger folks, right, around bullying and things like that, and learning how to manage conflict. You definitely should target them younger. Most of the programs that I see are focused more so on high school, like mentoring and stuff like that, which is fine. But I think it makes more sense to target them when they're much younger so that they can grow up knowing those skills before they even get to high school.
Exactly. That's kind of
Yes.
focus on my social emotional learning books, is to try to instill these lessons in them when they're younger. It's excuse me, an unfortunate fact that I live here in Chicago,
Right.
and I have seen a lot of things. I worked in social services for like forever, and
Mm,
I've seen a lot of very bad things happen to young people, and it seems to be getting worse, unfortunately, with
yeah.
due to gun violence. And it's simply, I think, these kids don't know how to talk to each other, and they don't know how to work out a conflict. They don't know how to de-escalate before it is too late. And
Right.
in real life, you can't hit a reset button and undo damage that you've done. And
So true.
the guns are so easy for the kids to get to,
And it
and,
makes no sense. Yeah.
it makes no sense. So I'm trying to, with this next book, we don't have to fight. I'm trying to instill in them, hey, there's more that we can do.
Use your words. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Daryl. You are certainly providing a lot of important value to the community. Thank you, for taking it upon yourself and being an independent, um, you know, uh, book salesman, and taking upon yourself to travel the country to make sure you get these resources into the hands of families who need them most. So thank you so much for appearing today on our broadcast. We are encouraging people to share, share, share. If you're in the Silver Spring, or DMV as we call it here in the area, DC, Maryland, Northern Virginia area, make sure you come out on Saturday, July 10th. And make sure you support this event. And then he'll be in Charlotte, right? July 31st. So yeah, if you're listening from any of those places, make sure that you share this video and encourage more people to come out and be a part of this positive book tour. Thanks so much, Daryl. Enjoy the rest of your day, and take care, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.